Kobe Bryant?
So, who knows Kobe Bryant? Everyone, right? Why? He's a legend of the game. Inspirational, motivational. He passed away recently and he just made everyone tear up. But how does someone who's an athlete, a basketball player, transform into a leader? How did he manage to do that? He had a massive shoe company. He inspired millions of people to become basketball players. And he had an imprint beyond that on the basketball field. My contention is that it's not how you look, it's not how well you're brought up, it's not your environment around you that makes you a good leader, but the one key quality that all leaders seem to have is momentum. The ability to control momentum, to drive momentum, and to change negative circumstances and situations. So what is momentum? Simply defined in physics, we know it to be as mass times velocity. So the larger the mass of an object and the faster it goes, the more momentum it has. How do we transform this into our lives? In my opinion, my formula is action times growth. So the bigger we act and the more we grow, the larger the momentum, the positive momentum we have going forwards. And no matter what obstacles we face, we can drive past them because our momentum carries us forward in a way that resistance is pretty much easily deterred. So why is it so easy to take a shower every day? Who takes a shower every day? Okay, everyone, right? And even if you do skip one day, you still manage to come back to it a day afterwards. The main reason is because of this momentum. Since being a child, we had a routine that we developed to shower. It's not a necessity, we don't need it to be alive. It's just good. It's good for our health. It's good for our habits. And therefore, that momentum carries us forward. Even on low days, it's not too hard to get into a shower. But what about public speaking? Why was it so hard to give that first speech? Because, unlike showering, we didn't have the momentum that we had built up throughout our entire lives. But slowly, by practicing, by becoming an experienced speaker, you'd build that momentum up. And giving that next speech becomes incrementally easier with less effort. Which is why I think momentum is really critical, and being able to take negative circumstances and turning them into positivity is more important than just thinking about being motivated for one day. It's about carrying that momentum every day. When I was in school, I had a situation when I was in 8th grade where I was in a bit of a negative circle of people. These people resorted to smoking, to drinking, not to really focusing on work and studying, underaged. I didn't get into all of that, but I did stray away a little bit from being positive and working towards improving myself. So when my grades fell and when I felt like I was just wasting my life away, my mom came to me and said, don't become a trend follower, because leaders drive momentum, followers, they ride the momentum. And I wasn't riding the momentum off these other people. Their momentum was to just go and have a good time, which in their own way is perfectly fine. But none of them ended up in Imperial, did they? So I think it's really important to drive your momentum in the right, appropriate way possible. This leads to my two strategies, or two kinds of people in the world. They're the drivers and the riders. Drivers are like Kobe Bryant, leaders like Stephen Hawking, people like Mahatma Gandhi. They take their situations. Mahatma Gandhi had a situation where he was confronted with people fighting against him, and he just responded with non-violence, stuck to that. These kind of people, they drive momentum, they change it. Riders resort to laziness, couch potatoes, often riders. So how do we become a driver? I have 5 key steps, basically to do with the acronym of driver. The first one is D, dare to take more risks. If you don't take risks in life, you're never going to find a change to any sort of negative circumstance that you're going through. So taking that first step, that leap of faith going forwards, if it's public speaking, sign up to a speech like Sharif is doing today, that you've never done before. If you're scared of playing football, go and sign up to a competition. Take that first step forward, and that will really transform you from becoming that shy person that's failing right now to becoming someone more successful. Secondly, respond with patience. This is probably the key critical point that people fail at. We don't wait long enough to see results. Most people in life, they have 2 or 3 days where they start going to the gym, and then they give up. 2 or 3 days when they start joining Toastmasters, 2 or 3 meetings, that was actually me for a while, and they don't show up. The main reason is because we can't handle failures, and whenever we see a setback, we can't really deal with it. But like we said earlier, momentum takes time to build, and it's really that action times growth formula that we really need to resort to. When I was in school, again, but this was towards the final years of school, I had recently moved to a new country and had to make new friends, had to adjust to new places. And one of the greatest setbacks I ever faced was wanting to take additional subjects at A-level. My school didn't know about my previous academic record, and they were extremely against me taking chemistry as a 5th subject in AS. But I was determined to prove them wrong, and throughout that year I showed them that I could do really well. And after doing 10 months of performing really well academically, 1 month before my exams, they let me take up chemistry from scratch. So I had to learn AS chemistry in 1 month in comparison to everyone else doing it in a whole year. When I started to do it in that month, I got like zeros. In my lab tests, in the first couple of weeks, I was failing, I had no idea what was going on, I hadn't taken chemistry in ages since GCSE. But patience was the main key. I kept on working on it, and by the end of the month, when I had my exams, I got 5 A's, including chemistry. I got an A in that chemistry as well. The next step is involve yourself. What I mean by this is often, for example, us as students, we look at the bigger picture. We want to have a successful career in the future, so therefore we need to get good grades. Where often we have group assignments that don't really count that much, and therefore we just don't attempt to take that much of an involvement in it. We're pretty much lazy, and we let other people carry the workload for us. So my recommendation is putting in effort in everything you do, because by doing so you create negative momentum that's carried forward, and you learn to be lazy in everything that you do. The next is visualize your goals, because if you see the bigger picture, then you can really motivate yourself to keep the momentum going forward. Visualization is something that everyone talks about, but that's not the end goal. The end goal is actually enjoying the process, the journey that takes you forward rather than the destination. Which is why Tyson Fury was a big boxer, and he had this issue where he faced depression after achieving the best goal he could possibly achieve, the heavyweight boxing champion of the world. So lastly is to raise the bar, keep pushing yourself forward, and keep on improving on yourself, such that people like Roger Federer, who've achieved everything they could at a very old age, have kept on pushing themselves forward to keep on going, keeping that momentum going on despite having achieved all the physical goals that they need to achieve. Therefore, that's my formula, and I hope you follow it. Become a driver. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rishi. Picture this. You're a student in your final year of university, and you've applied to 50 jobs by now. You just want a job. It doesn't matter how good it is, how good the pay is, or how good your lifestyle will be. You just need that one job. Suddenly, one day, you get that magical email saying, "Congratulations, we are looking forward to having you next year at company XYZ." Now picture this. You've already got a job. Again, you're in your final year of university, but that job just isn't enough for you. You're full of feelings of anger, and just like there's this empty hole in yourself which you still have to fulfill. Even though you've got this amazing job with a 100k salary, living with your family, in your friends, it's your dream job, but still just not that perfect to match your ideal self. So this leads onto the main question of today. What is happiness? Is it something absolute, or is it a relative measure of how we feel? Is there a limit to how much happiness we can feel? Or is it completely unlimited and can change through time? Today, I will be focusing on 3 main things. First of all, I will be defining what happiness is according to Google and to the conventional definition. I will then be sharing a story of myself and how happiness has changed through time for me. And finally, I will be using the first questions I asked in the speech to answer what happiness means to me and where it is right now. So to begin off with, the definition of happiness. According to the Oxford Dictionary, happiness is a feeling of joy we feel when something is going well, when life is going the path we want it to go in. We feel good, we feel excited, we feel like something good's going to happen to us. In other words, it's the opposite of sadness. Very basic definition, but kind of explains the whole picture. So for some, I guess, happiness may be simply going to work on a daily basis, having food on their table, having enough money to live. For others, happiness can be traveling, exploring new things, always making sure they're trying out many different things. For me, I guess happiness has changed over time. And this is the second point I will be talking about today, which is my experience with happiness. Let's move back to when I was a teenager, maybe around the age of 13, 14. Back in the days, I guess I didn't really have to worry about where I was going next. I was just in school, everything was fairly linear. So my big focus back then was swimming and cross country. I used to compete in both of these sports, and for me that feeling of joy of being in that moment of when I was doing that sports and constantly improving, that was all I really needed to be happy. That external reward as well of like winning competitions, getting even further, that was really what motivated me to take a step further. But then if we fast forward 7 years later to where I am now, finishing off my final year of university, where everything's more non-linear. I decide what I'm doing now with my life. I decide which job I take, where I go, where I live, who I live with, etc, etc, etc. For me, that feeling of happiness which was associated to sports and winning competitions has kind of faded away. That is not to say that I don't enjoy sports. In fact, I do. If I wake up, say, nice and early, 6 a.m., try and go to the gym or for a run or something, I can do that, but that will not help me fulfill my day. I feel like I need to constantly be learning new things, which is why I love coming to this club and trying to improve myself as a person, and why I also love trying out new things, traveling to new places, learning new things, because this is what really makes me feel good about myself. When I compare this to other people, say for example, my mom or my brother, for them happiness may simply be meeting with friends or playing one of their favorite computer games in the case of my brother. For me it's very different. For a musician, for example, happiness for them could be getting a new song on their playlist, or for an athlete it could be beating a new world record. So I guess happiness is very different to all of us. And with that, I would like to move on to point 3 and conclude for today with 3 main things that define happiness to me. The first thing is, I guess it is relative. Like I said at the beginning, depending on what I'm comparing it to, there is never this kind of degree of absolute happiness. It can also change on a day-to-day basis for me. For example, one day, if I go for a run, I can feel like I've accomplished everything for a day. The other day, and the next day, it can maybe not be enough. Second of all, happiness is unlimited. There is never a maximum degree. Even if you reach that maximum level, there will always be more and more and more you want to do to achieve that true level of happiness. It's almost like infinite in time. And third of all, happiness is time invariant. It will change over time, as has happened to me and as has happened to most of you probably. Thank you.
Many thanks, Paula. I have waged a war since birth. I was diagnosed with an array of mental, psychological, physical disorders. Was I cursed? I was always using my might to get into useless fights. In my schools, I was forsaken. To my friends, I was lost. My mind was a flurry, and I had a flickering soul. Yet I thought I was right, that I was in control. Nevertheless, when I went to university, I found that as I shifted my diet, something revolutionary happened. As I changed my foods, my life changed as well. And I'm here to share with you this good news. Because I believe we are called on a mission. It is our life vision. I was a catastrophic collision. An incision that soon found his vision. That food should not be abused, because when you eat wrongly and you are what you eat, you lead your life wrongly. You see, food is the energy that gives us energy. Junk food cannot support your life as much as you can handle strife, the knife that pierces your brain, your heart, blood stains. This is the chocolate and cakes that lead to weight gains. Did you know that cancer dies when you consume berries? Or that you lose weight when you eat nuts? Or that you become more intelligent, more confident, more energetic, more aware, more focused, more adaptable, more charismatic, more pragmatic, more appealing. Life becomes better on all fronts. This is why food should be at the forefront. It is the gateway to success, to fulfilling your ambitions, and to fulfilling others' wishes. My wounded past has given me stitches. They have become my life pitches. A journey of diet, a revolution made in quiet. I didn't know the power of food until now. Now, the power of this lesson I have shared with you has enough power to prevent wars. And it is so simple. There are no complicated laws. Start now to go closer to your goal. Blame only willpower for suppressing your goal. Wait, but healthy eating begets more willpower. Now you're on a roll, and when your grandchildren come to visit, your livelihood will be on par with theirs. They'll be heirs to a legacy of healthy, happy, successful living. And it will all be down to you. Which path will you take henceforth.
Alright. Chuka.
What color is this pen?
Azure.
Blue. What color is this pen?
Green.
Yes, green. Alright, what if you and I could swap bodies but keep our memories? I perceive the world through your senses and you through mine. And then what if me looking through your senses, I looked at this pen again and thought, hang on a second, this doesn't look like my blue anymore. It looks more like what I'd consider to be green. Similarly, what if you, looking through my senses, saw this pen and said, that's no longer my green. It looks more like what I'd think to be blue. Obviously, it's a fallacious question. We cannot switch bodies, but I've addressed a long-standing problem in the philosophy of mind field, and that is there exists an explanatory gap between third-person physical phenomena and first-person subjective experiences. What do I mean by first-person subjective experiences? This is our individual outlook on this world. The redness of your red, that feeling you get when you touch something hot, that sudden rush of anger. These experiences are subjective and they cannot be properly described nor quantified. And it's true. We could look at every neuron in the brain and correlate that to our experiences. For example, we know the visual cortex is responsible for processing vision, but that tells us absolutely nothing about what it is like to be that first person, what it is like to see the world through their eyes. So, in the philosophy of mind field, we have two schools of thought. On one camp, we have physicalists. The physicalist will tell you that mind, matter, and atoms is all that there is in this universe and all that will ever be. So the reason we have a gap in understanding of the third-person physical phenomena and first-person subjective experiences is simply because we don't know enough about the brain. On the other camp, we have dualists. The dualists will say, no. Even if we could understand every single neuron in every individual brain, and we understood how every single neuron interacts with each other, and how the brain as a whole interacts with the environment, down to the last electron, we still wouldn't be able to describe first-person subjective experience in physical terms. Therefore, the dualist argues that there is something non-physical about the brain, mind, and subjective experiences. Now, most of you are probably going to be physicalists, but I'll give you a thought experiment which may get you thinking. Consider Mary. Mary is a scientist, a brilliant scientist. She knows everything there is to know about the brain and how it interacts with the wider environment. But here's the kicker. Mary is colorblind. She's never experienced color throughout her entire life. But fortune strikes, and one day Mary is cured of her color blindness. And so the question is, when Mary sees color for the first time, does she learn anything new? Well, assume Mary does learn something new. But we already stated that Mary knows everything there is to know about the brain and its interaction with the wider world. Therefore, this new thing that Mary has learned cannot be something physical. It has to be non-physical. Alternatively, you could argue that because Mary already knew everything there is to know about the brain and its workings with the wider universe, she would have deduced the experience of color even whilst being colorblind. Perhaps there's a third answer. this is the kind of problem which goes back and forth with no real answer. But I find it interesting because it's at the core of our existence. So I would implore each and every one of you to also think about it and develop your own opinions. All you need to do to get started is understand this statement. We analyze the universe through third-person explanations. We experience the universe through the first person. So next time you're walking down the street, have a think. What do you hear? What is sound? What do you feel? What do you smell? And ultimately, what do you see? Contest, yeah?
Alright, mini cakes team, have a seat.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you procrastinate? How many of you think that your to-do list is increasing day by day? And how many of you think that despite your hard work, you cannot meet the deadlines? The reason for all these, or the answer to all these questions, is time management. Time management is the fine skill of not doing anything useless. In my speech today, I'll be giving you an anecdote of why time management is important, followed by I'll share some secrets how I try to manage my time, and I'll give you walk through you a very handy source that I use extensively to manage my everyday. Think about the importance of time and ask a student who just failed what's the importance of 1 year. Ask the importance of 1 month to a mother who gives birth to a premature child. Ask the importance of 1 minute to a person who just missed his flight. Ask the importance of 1 second to a person who just escaped an accident. Ask the importance of 1 millisecond to an athlete who failed to secure gold in an Olympic. In this fast-paced world, everyone is burdened with so many things to do in a very limited time. Still, we see that some people are succeeding while some other fails to achieve their goals. Again, the reason is time management. For me, I want to enjoy my life, I want to do good research, I want to be updated with what's going on in the world. So how do I manage all these things? When I'm running in the Hyde Park, I listen to the news broadcasts. When I'm cooking, I listen to some entertainment. When I'm walking, I try to finish off all my phone calls so that when I reach my office, I'm better able to do all the work. And I don't waste my time on these useless stuff. Not useless, but not very productive. In this whole process, a particular app helps me like anything. And today I'll share with you all this particular app. It's called Microsoft To Do. A very good app which is seamlessly integrated with different Microsoft platforms. If everyone is visible. It's visible to everyone? Yeah. So this is a very wonderful app in which you can list down all your tasks in the main window. You can also hierarchize and categorize it into different lists. And for each task, you can add several things, like you can add a due date, you can add a reminder when you want a reminder from the app, you can add several sub-steps. Additionally, what I also do is, I add a tentative time that each of these sub-steps or the whole task will take. This helps me overcome procrastination. Additionally, you can, if you have to review some documents, you can add those files using the add file ability of this software. And whenever you are free, you can just go and review that particular software, file. Now, if you are running very busy and you get a very important email, so you can simply flag that email and it will appear in your flagged email window. If there is something that is very important, so you can put them in your important box. Now, if you have a lot of work and you're struggling where to start from, then you can simply put them all in your My Day and sort them out as in any order, say by the due date or by the time it will take or the day you created if you don't want to keep something hanging on for a very long time. Additionally, if you are working in a group, you can also use this app to share and delegate the work among other people. Similarly, someone else can share their work to you, and that will appear in a planned section in which you can then work and sort that work out. This particular app helps you overcome procrastination. It helps you make good time management, as if you have very limited time left with you, you can simply tick off a sub-step of the main subtask, which may take like 10-15 minutes, and instead of delaying the whole task by one day, you can at least be 25% ahead if it's a 4-step task, and if you have completed one task in 15 minutes, but you don't have 1 hour to complete the whole task. I believe using this software, using this app will help you manage your time and your day in a much better way. Additionally, this software is seamlessly integratable into your mobile phone, tablets, desktop, browsers, everywhere. So it's more like if you get an idea anywhere, whether you are traveling on the tube, walking in the Hyde Park or wherever, you can simply log it down and it is there in your list of work to do. So you don't miss any deadlines, you don't miss any work which is important in your life to do. Moving on, I believe with this good app at your hand and a good framework of how you can plan your day, everything is possible. Lord Chesterfield has once said, and I quote, "Take care of your minutes and the hours will take care of themselves." I'll repeat, take care of your minutes and the hours will take care of themselves. So from now on, take care of your minutes. Thank you very much.
Many thanks.